in the cocaine business like Monster Energy because,
God, Jesus. Here we go. Oh, boy.
No. So that can lead us right into that situation. So,
yeah,
like Mookie and that signing and stuff. So obviously, there's a little more money to be thrown around with some of the teams. Or not the teams, but I guess brands, because they aren't throwing money at Geico Honda, and that money has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
how many semis do you think realistically here by the time we actually get to Houston for the first round? How many semis do you actually think Star's going to have in the pits? 6?
Well,
7?
we know it's going to be we know it's for sure going to be 2.
There's
it's
no way they're fitting everyone they got in 2 semis. I mean,
Come Outdoors is going to be more interesting when these amateur kids like Romano and Kitchen and LeBlanc all decide to move up. That's,
bro.
And then you bring Thrasher back into it.
Outdoors, they're going to have 10 fucking semis at the races. Like, let's face it. There's going to be at least 10 semis at the races for Outdoors, and there's got to be 6 for Supercross. Like, it's unreal.
So, did you guys see that video of Mookie? I think Swap posted it, of him just doing testing at the State Fair MX.
I have not
riding outdoors.
The Mookie one, no. And I just saw the Jaymar one went up.
The Jaymar one?
Yeah, I haven't watched that either.
So the first thing I thought of, and I didn't really read the press release from, they talking about the signing with Mookie, but I started thinking about this, and it's obviously, we all know it's a Supercross-only deal. But with the way that Star, whether it's Star, Yamaha, Monster, whoever, we think it's Monster Energy, and probably it's pretty sure it's Monster Energy throwing the money around. Do we think that this being a Supercross-only deal, that it's not Mookie that went to them, that they went to Mookie, and that's why it's a Supercross-only deal? Because I have a hard time believing that Star would pick up a guy, and especially now that they're going with a factory effort, and offering somebody a Supercross-only deal. So that makes me wonder if they went to him, and that's why it's Supercross-only, because I can't see him going to them and then be like, oh, yeah, we're just going to let you ride Supercross-only.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So you agree. You think they went to him, not the other way around?
Yep. I think
who else was in talks? It was between him and who?
Well, I don't think it was anybody else, to be honest with you. I think they were always pretty much, McElrath, but that wasn't going to happen, so it's pretty much always him, him.
I would say on 450s, the only other one I heard outside of Dylan and Shane was rumbling for a little bit there was Mookie. And, yeah, I think they literally did a name grab on him. They had some money open up because obviously Geico shut down. And like Cole, like you said, there's money from some of these other sponsors that all of a sudden can get thrown around at different people. And, yeah, I think that's exactly what we had happen is they came into a little bit of extra money. And obviously I don't think Mookie is getting paid a whole hell of a lot to ride for him. And they were like, hey, bro, you want to come ride this bike and we'll give you some money and you can keep your gear deal and it'll all be cool.
So that's very interesting if that is true, which I definitely think it is. But that's very interesting in itself because if you really think about over the way deals have been negotiated and changed over the last, just say 10 years, and more guys getting more higher end, agents and going to these different, agencies and stuff because now they're, these guys are getting more money, so on and so forth. You don't really ever see a team, especially a team like Star, go to a guy and say, hey, just come ride our bike. Just come ride our bike. We'll pay a little bit of money. You get to do whatever you want. Just come ride our bike. That doesn't normally happen. I started thinking about it before we got on this phone call, and I tried to think of some names that might have happened, and I can't really think of anybody. Like even in the early 2000s, like that just didn't normally happen. They didn't really. Top teams don't just go to guys. It's always the other way around. So if that's the case, that's very interesting in itself. And we're not going to get into the economics and all that kind of bullshit with this, but it's very interesting in itself if that is the case that they went to him, not the other way around.
Okay, but let's look at this. Let's look at this at a different light too. Who else do they have on 450s? Okay, they have Dylan, who is a rookie.
And Plessinger.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So they have Dylan, who's a rookie, who could do good, could wad himself in the first corner in the first practice in Houston. We're not 100% sure. We think he's going to do all right because he did good on the 250, but we don't really know. Okay, we don't really know how he's going to really fit in. Again, we have ideas, but we're not sure. Then you have AP. Now, AP, we've seen can run inside the top 10, but unless they do something crazy with that bike, which could happen, again, could. I mean, he ran a lot of his 450 races up until he hurt himself, in the, say, 7 to 15 range, basically.
Well, 2 years ago, he was getting a little bit of momentum when he was getting it. He got 2 top 5s, and then obviously got hurt at Daytona. And then last year, he was just pretty much hurt up pretty much until he just stopped riding.
Yeah. I mean, he was, but again, we have another basically unknown. We don't know how it's going to go, but from what we've seen, it's not great, and they're basically locked in with him because he had a contract. So you want to take this?
He isn't getting paid either. I think he has to. In his contract, has to ride a certain amount of races before he can even get paid.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got the whole hill thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another.
So look
outlet at Yamaha has all this money. I mean, they saved money from not paying him for a year because he got hurt, and then they didn't take a couple of the engineers from the factory effort.
Yep.
Yeah, they got rid of some of the older guys.
Yep.
So I mean, there's $50,000-$60,000 salaries, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so look at your optics here. So now you bring in Mookie, who this year proved he could go 17 rounds, proved he could run, we'll say, 4 to 9th place most of the time. Okay.
Won a heat.
Yeah. Yeah, won a heat. I mean, so you want someone that in Supercross you can put some optics on in a good way, hopefully, for your brand new team here in the 450 class. I mean, when you start looking at it that way, it starts to make sense as to why they would go to him. I mean, like you said, it hasn't really happened a lot in the history of the sport, but you start looking at what you got going on, and boom, there it is. So
no, I think it'll be good for him. He's going into a season with a little bit of time to prep. It's the first time he's been on a full bore factory team. Supercross only is kind of something that he wants. I think it'll be a good situation for him.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he gels with that bike, because like I kept telling you guys, talking about with, the way I view Frenchie's season is if the star engineers get that bike dialed in, because we know that bike is good because we've seen what Barsha can do, and then also, even though it's a different situation, we see how well it does in the GP. So as much as I'm not a Yamaha guy, that bike is good. It's better than people give it credit for. It's just Yamaha was stuck in the old way of thinking. So if they can get that bike dialed in, it's going to be very interesting to see how a guy like Mookie will be able to get that bike to do what he wants to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't love it. I love the signing. I think it's great. I think it's very interesting because you don't normally see a full factory 450 team, especially with the way they're running their program, doing something like that. So it's going to be very interesting. And I also do wonder that, because I'm pretty sure this is AP's last year of his deal, that if Mookie goes out and kills it, does he just get a contract, extension? Does he just become the full-time second guy, and maybe they talk him into doing outdoors? I
think that's
don't know.
A possibility, yeah.
So
I think it's a possibility.
Honda, he was pretty good outdoors.
No, I'm still to this day don't understand why. I know that he doesn't like to train as hard as some of the other guys, but I've always said I don't understand why he doesn't do outdoors, because even in the 250 days, it's not like he's done good. I've never understood it. So,
bro, he brought outdoors. He keeps saying this. He doesn't, but he would. So,
dude, and I think I don't think he'd be a threat to podium as far as points at the end of the year. But we know what Mookie can do with 1, 2, 3 lap heaters. So, he would be in there and mix it up for at least 10, 15 minutes.
100%.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, you want to continue down the star rabbit hole a little bit here, because we also have a surprise signing that none of us really saw coming in Jeremy Martin going back there. And then, obviously Craig moved over, which that we all kind of knew before the end of the motocross season that he was going. Hell, I think we knew that in Supercross that he was going there. So that's not really a surprise. Now let's quickly touch on Craig, and then we'll move to Jaymar here, because we're going kind of long here. As far as the Craig thing goes, I don't think it's going to be a game changer for him. And I think he is going to take Mookie's bike when they go outdoors. I think he's going 450. I've heard rumblings. And,
I was just about to say the same thing.
And I think that's what he's going to do. But I don't really see it being a game changer as far as in Supercross. I just see it as a lateral move, I guess. I mean, any other thoughts on that other than that?
There are the rumors going around that Paige's dad took her money out of the Geico team or whatever and took it over to that team. So if that is the case, it's still I don't need to perform to be here kind of deal. And I think a guy like Craig needs that I need to perform to stay kind of thing. So it'll be, I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. If it's family involved, he's just, going to put this front on like he does every year. Like, I'm going to be a guy, I'm going to win races, and then just shit the bed all year. And then
I'll say this. I think that if he is not on the same coast as Fortner or Jet, I think that, oh man, it's hard because you guys know I like Christian, but we do know how he is. We know where his head can be sometimes. I think if he's not on the same coast, what's up?
He hits the ground a lot. Let's face it. I mean, look at last year.
He does.
He was in position to do well in races, and he hit the ground a lot. Now, sometimes
but that bike is so fucking good, though. I mean,
I can't wait to see him go through the whoops on that thing.
I mean,
I will say this. I think that if he's not on the same coast as Jet and Fortner, I think that he's going to be a title threat. I'm not saying he's going to win a title, but that bike is just good. It's just better than all the other 250s. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It doesn't matter. I know it's not as big of a deal in Supercross compared to outdoors with the horsepower, but that bike is just good. We know how smooth Christian is.
I guess.
And I do agree.
Don't we say that? Don't we say this every year though with him of like title threat, and then it just never seems to materialize? Because I'll agree with what Cole said. If Paige's dad pulled his money from Geico and brought it over to Star, and that's why he's on Star, then it really, I mean, I think it's a wash again. I think it's like Jaymar too with it. I think as far as Supercross goes, okay, let's keep this statement correct here before you guys chew my ass off. I think in Supercross, I think it's just a lateral move for Jaymar. I don't foresee this being a game changer for him either.
I think once again, it just depends on who's on what coast. I really do. I think that if those guys are away from, Jet and Fortner, and Fortner and Jet are on the same coast as each other, and everybody else, like I said, you're looking at who are, and we're not going to go too deep into it, but it's Craig, it's Jaymar, it's RJ. Like, those are going to be the favorites, and we all know what they've done in Supercross. We know they're really fast. They could win races. Jaymar has obviously won races. Craig has won a race. RJ hasn't yet, but it's unproven guys. Like, we don't have a guy this year in the 250 class that has been able to prove that even being in the points, can be consistent. And that's the thing. Like, if they're away from Fortner and Jet, it's a toss-up on who's going to be the favorite. Because that's the thing is okay, just right now, just off the top of your head, say Jaymar, Fortner, or Jaymar, Christian, and RJ are the three favorites, and they're on the same coast. Who are you picking?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not arguing this point with you at all. But again, that's not a bike thing. That's just a circumstance thing as far as they're on a coast where there isn't a heavy hitter, we'll call it. And then they are the hitters on that coast. Yeah, I will totally agree with that. Now, as far as who I'm picking out of those three, man, I'm going with RJ. Which is weird and hard to say, but I'm going with RJ because he's.
I guess my point is that bike. We know how good Christian is, what he can do with a lead. We've seen it a bunch of times in the heat races, and that's the difference with that bike compared to the Geico bike. Is that bike is going to get him starts, and if that's just it, where he just needs to get a start.
Yeah, but
like I said,
starts in Supercross are not as.
Well, my point is that all his races that he won were heat races because he got a start, is my point.
Yes.
And that's the thing is where I think that bike, I don't think it's going to be as big of a difference, but I think just to kind of all come back with what Cole was saying about with, Paige's dad, Jeff, putting money in, which, that is a thing. I mean, I was telling you about that, Travis. We were talking about that off camera a couple weeks ago. I think that this year is different in the sense because now that he proved that he did a whole season on a 450 outdoors and he proved his worth. Whether you can talk about Coop and Kenny not being there and so on and so forth, he proved his worth. He proved that he can be a top 10 guy, run in the top 5, get on the box. I think that he knows that this is his last chance to prove to the teams because Christian's 28. He's going to be 29 next year. Like his his career is not going to be too much longer. And if he wants to be on a 450 the last couple of years of his career, he's got to do something this year. And I think for the first time, he's realizing that if he doesn't get it done this year, whether that means winning a title or not, his chances of doing anything, they're over with. Like, he's not going to get that 450 ride. So that's the only reason why I think this year might be different.
Okay. All right. Now, as far as Jaymar goes, again, another guy that I don't think the bike's game-changing for him in Supercross. Outdoors, completely different story.
I think they're fucked outdoors. But
everyone is fucked 8 ways to never outdoors again, unless for some reason the actual Honda R&D team completely figure something out with that bike that where it can stay with the Star Yamahas, which I think is next to impossible.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah,
that ain't happening.
Where Jet could do that. Outside of that, nope. I don't normally do this, but we could just hand the trophy out before the season starts, and then just
we might as well
see what happens because those boys are all screwed. So
yep.
Did anybody else's jaw like fall on the floor though when we heard that Jaymar signed with Star? Because mine did. I had to pick it back up.
After some of the stuff we know about other riders banging his fiance and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't think he'd be back.
I literally I woke up, I saw that, and I was like, you've got to be shitting me.
Was Seth Burke involved in all that too?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to think so, man. I would have to think there was a lot going on behind the scenes that nobody knew about because I don't see Jaymar just going, we can work this out. I don't see it. I do not see that happening. There had to have been a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Don't you have somebody you could call and ask about that, Justin?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Why don't you get some fucking info then?
You know what, man? Why don't you just back off?
I mean, dude, I'm over here working like a fucking dog trying to get fucking info for shit, and you just got to make a phone call.
Anyways, as far as the Supercross thing, like I said, I think it just all depends on if those guys aren't on the same coast as Jet or Fortner. Because, like I said, the same thing with Craig. If he's not on the same coast as Fortner and Jet, he's going to be a title threat. But if he's on the same coast as them, then he's just going to, maybe get a win, and then he's just going to be a top 3 guy. Because I just think for the first time in a long time that even though, the way 2020 ended with Frenchie and Sexton winning their titles, this is the first time I can say in a long time that there's 2 guys that are just clearly better than everybody else. Like, it'll be the same thing in 2019 if Fortner ends up on a coast that Jet's not there. He could just win out. And the same thing with Jet. He could just win out. So
I have a question for you guys.